What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back, Kevin, to the channel. Hello. We are working on another BavSound install on his 2007 E90 328. And as you guys can see, we've got a little care package here from BavSound. We've got underseat subwoofers, speakers, mid-range, and tweeters as well. So we're gonna go ahead and show you guys how to do that on your E90 3 Series. All right, so Kevin and I already did the passenger side off camera. Pretty simple install for the most part, pretty straightforward. So what we're going to do first is actually the underseat subwoofer. So as you guys can see, Kevin's still got that side up. But what we need to do, there are 4 T50 Torx bolts. So if you move your seat back, you'll see one right here. So one there, one on that side, move the seat forward, one on the back here, one on the back over there. So when you do all 4 of those, you can recline the seat. You don't have to take the seat out. You can see that Kevin's got this one reclined back, so he's got access underneath there to where the factory subwoofer is. So there's a little sub grill right here that we have to remove with a couple Phillips screws, but pretty simple to do this part of the install. All right, so again, these are going to be T50 bolts. You can see they're nice and long. So 2 in the front, move the seat forward, come to the back, and then there's one there, and you're good to go. Okay, so we've got all 4 of those screws out. So if I go ahead and fold the seat back, so I'm putting it back and the upper part as far forward as I can, kind of fold it like a pretzel, and it will eventually flip itself back, as you can see. So no need to take this completely out of the car, just get it back as far as it can go. And then what you're gonna do now, you'll see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these Phillips screws down here. So unscrew those, and this little sub grate will come right out. Okay, once you remove all 6 of those Phillips screws, the little speaker grill comes right off, and it gives access to the under seat subwoofer. So depending on your car, we got lucky on this one. Certain model years, and depending on your stock sound system that is in your car, this is a standard hi-fi. And you can see here that there are actually this little silver screw here. It goes all the way around. There's a couple of them, 5 I think. And if you unscrew those, this entire stock speaker will come out. Some models, I've done another E90 just like this. That was a 2011 with a hi-fi, and the speaker was actually glued into the sub enclosure box. We weren't sure about this car, so what we did was Kevin actually purchased couple of these right here. So these are OEM sub enclosures, and so what you can do, if you have one that is glued in and doesn't screw in like ours does, it's extremely difficult to get the stock subwoofer out of these. You basically have to pry them out, and you end up breaking a lot of plastic, and it's just not usable. It's just easier to pull the entire tray out and just buy a new one like this. You can get these on eBay, or if you guys need one of these or both of them, since we're not using them, Kevin will be selling these. So just hit up my Instagram DM or Kevin's Instagram and let us know if you want to buy those. So moving back into the car, once again, there are screws on ours here. So this is gonna be a Torx T20, and there are, I think, 5 of these screws. What? These little, so 4 of these little screws that go around one. You have to kind of pull the carpet back. There's another one right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back underneath here, there's also a little plug that plugs directly into the speaker. So all you need to do is kind of fold this carpet back, just like so. Just kind of grab it, manhandle it a little bit, and fold it back out of the way, and you'll have access to all 4 of those screws and the plug. Okay, here is a comparison of the stock versus the new BavSound. Obviously, you can see the quality difference and even the weight. The BavSound one just feels like a much nicer, high quality product, and it should put out a lot more bass. But completely plug and play, and you can see that Kevin pulled this back. Here's the wire here that connects to the actual speaker itself. So there's a little tab right down here. If you pull this tab down, you can pull this out. So completely plug and play, which is a really great thing about BavSound. So we're gonna go ahead and swap this new one in and button this back up. All right, so as you guys can see, Kevin is plugging this in first. You can either plug it in first and then put the speaker in, or vice versa. So he's plugging it in first and tucking it back in. Same exact orientation as the stock one was. Obviously all of the little screw holes line up. Again, those are T20s that he removed, and there are 4 of those. So you just kind of have to navigate it underneath the carpet back into the sub enclosure, and good to go. So that's what's so great about this whole entire BavSound system, is that it's completely plug and play. You don't have to modify anything, and you don't have to do any coding. It's just plug in, ready to go, and enjoy the listening experience. So Kevin's got that back seated into place, and he's screwing these 4 screws back in with the T20. I think the hardest part of the sub enclosure or the underseat subwoofers is kind of navigating past the carpet. You don't have to pull off any of the carpet or pull any of the door trim out of the way or anything. You just kind of need to pull it back enough to access the screws and plug it in. So actually, he was actually smart about it and plugged it in first and navigated it back. In the past, when I've done it, I've had to pull the carpet back a little bit further to plug it in after the fact. So actually, I think the way that Kevin did it seems to be a lot easier. And just like that, he's got all 4 of them in and kind of going crisscross to make sure they're all equally tight. You don't want to go too crazy. Oh, you dropped the thing. You don't want to go too crazy with it, because you are screwing these into plastic, and so you don't want to strip anything. So as long as they're snug, they're not going to go anywhere, they're not going to rattle, and it's going to have a nice tight seal as well. And so after this, we can go ahead and put that speaker grill right back on top. Use those 6 OEM Phillips screws to screw it back in. Screw the seat back in with the T50s, and this is nice and wrapped up. All right, so speaker grill goes right back on top. Only goes on one direction. And 6 Phillips screws. All right, now Kevin is reinstalling these T50 bolts here for the seat. So once again, all 4 of those, tighten them all down.
Probably do need to go forward a little.
Yep. It's easier if you start on the back and then pull the seat, push the seat back, and then you can do the front. Okay, the next easiest part of this install is the rear speakers. So there is a mid-range and a tweeter back here. This is going to be a little bit hard to film because of the limited space, but basically same kind of idea here. We need to take the speaker grill up and out. So there's a couple little plastic tabs that go all the way around the perimeter of the speaker, and you can see Kevin taking this little trim tool here. You just want to start in one little area and kind of prop up on it. Be careful, because there are plastic tabs here, so you don't want to break any of it.
There we go.
As long as you start in one corner and kind of work your way around.
There was one tab already broken.
Yeah, it's really thin plastic too, so I'll be a little bit careful. But even if you break 1 or 2 of them, there's still like 6 or 8 of them that go all around it. So this is what it looks like.
See, this one broke. The rest, yeah, the rest are fine.
Yeah, so still good. So yeah, and then there are 2 speakers back here, and they're held in by 2 screws each on each speaker. So again, 1 mid-range and 1 tweeter. They're 8mm screws. You can kind of see them right there. So you want to remove those and disconnect the wire that gives it power. Also, that little tool that he's using, this little tiny ratchet, comes in the BavSound accessory kit. It's got all the tools, little toolkit that you need, all the little tools that you need in order to do all of these installs. So it's got torque screws, or screwdriver sockets, this little ratchet, which is super handy, and everything else. So you can see he's removed 2 screws on the tweeter, and now he's removing 2 more on the mid-range. And the tweeter gets power from the mid-range, so there is a wire that connects the 2, and then there's 1 wire that plugs into the actual car to give all of them power. Yeah, that ratchet really comes in handy because you can screw the top of it. And we are reusing the OEM screws when putting the new BavSound speakers in. So lift up and pull
There's
out.
1 more, hold on. I did not see this one.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's 3 screws on the mid-range and 2 on the tweeter. And to unplug, you just squeeze the wire, pull out. There's these 2 little blue plugs.
There we go.
There's the one. And then the wire harness feeds into the other speaker, so you just kind of navigate it out of there. Just like so. So there's the 2 stock ones. Here's a comparison of the stock mid-range versus the BavSound stock tweeter BavSound. Very similar in size, just a nicer quality difference with the BavSound. And same with the tweeter. The tweeter is very small and light. And this is nice metal housing on the BavSound versus a little plastic that BMW uses. So plug and play. And just to explain this wiring real quick, the BavSound speaker here, you'll see that there's 2 wires that come out of here, 1 black and 1 blue. The blue will connect to the car, the existing wire from the car. And again, same idea as the stock here. The tweeter gets power off of the mid-range. So this black wire from the tweeter will plug right into the mid-range right here. And this will plug into the car, the blue, and we're good to go. Okay, and these pretty much go in the same exact spots as the stock. So what Kevin's doing is running the wire from the tweeter underneath some of the plastic and in between the foam, just the same way the stock wiring ran, and then it fits right in the exact same spot, and the 2 8mm screws will go right back into that. And same thing with the mid-range. So he's going to plug in the black and the black, the blue with the OEM harness blue, and clean up the wiring and screw these back into place. And so these plugs only go in one direction. Pretty simple and self-explanatory when you look at it. And now he's doing blue to blue. And the speaker on the mid will only go in one way. So there's 3 screws. You can kind of tell how it's oriented and how it needs to go in. So once you get it in, screw it all down, put the grate back on, and this is all buttoned up. All right, so Kevin's got it all buttoned up, all screwed in, just needs the grill cover. And again, everything's all wired together, so. And this thing just pops right back on. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Last but not least, actually it is the last, is the door panel. So pretty simple to take off the door panel. We're gonna remove this aluminum trim here with a trim tool. You just pull it off, and then there's a couple Torx screws behind here, and then there's clips that go all the way around the door panel. Usually starting on a corner or something. There you go. Should go pull it off with just your finger.
There we go. Gonna break it. There you go.
And then behind there are, I believe, 3 Torx screws. And so we're replacing this speaker here. This is the mid-range, and this is the tweeter up here. So there should be one here, one in the middle, and one down there where Kevin's working. The passenger side's a little bit different because you can see that we've got all these controls and stuff over here. The passenger side, you can see we've got the door handle here. So there's actually a screw up in this one too, and there's also 3 back here behind the trim. So the driver's side's a little bit different, but same idea, same concept. So go ahead and remove all of those. Okay, so Kevin's gotten all 3 of those screws out. Now we're using a plastic trim tool starting down here on this corner. Once you pop a few of the little plastic clips down there, you can just take your hand and go all the way across. So gotta pop a couple of them first. They kind of go all the way around the perimeter, and the top's got some metal clips that go in the top. There you go. And I will say, when you do door panels, there's a good chance that you break some of these little clips. They're little white and gray clips. So I do recommend buying some. You can get some on eBay pretty easily.
But I'm struggling with this one.
Let me do it.
Oh, there we go. I don't think I'm getting it. Yeah, I'm not getting it. You try.
Let the pro do it.
Ones have done it before.
There we go. I usually give it a jolt. Just like that. And then, back here, you gotta unplug a couple things. You can see, if you grab this is the door handle. Just pull up on it. Comes off. This is your locking mechanism. It'll fall off. Speakers, just unplug. One for the tweeter, one for the main down here. This is for the your door, what do you call it? Switches. This one's a little bit harder to see. Hold on. So this one, push this clip in, fold this down, it'll pull this out just like that. So that's off of here, and then the bottom is for the light. Push that guy out. You can either unplug it or unscrew it and feed it through. Put that aside. Now your door panel is completely off the car. And this is what we're going to work on, is these 3 8mm nuts. And then up here is the tweeter. I'll show you that here in a minute. Okay, 8mm screws or nuts. We are going to reuse these, so don't lose them. There's the factory one right there. And then we're going to swap in the new one. Here's the comparison of the two. And so one thing we noticed here on the back, you can see the size difference. And a lot of that is attributed to this. And so we had a problem with the passenger side with it fitting with the foam. So we actually took off this little vibration rubber piece because the stock one doesn't have it, so we don't really need it. Make sure that you're using the little foam gasket here as well, so don't lose that. But this is going to give us the ample space that we need in order to get the door panel back on. So this is going to go back into its spot here, same exact way. Make sure it's in, and then same thing. We'll screw these back in. And same idea as the rear. You'll see that there's two plugs here. This black one is going to go to the tweeter and power the tweeter. And this is going to go to the stock harness on the car and give it power to all the speakers. So I don't need to go super tight with this. Okay, and then we are going to move over to the tweeter. So here's a comparison, just to show you guys. This is the stock tweeter, this is the BavSound tweeter. Nice little weight difference here. You can tell just the quality of this entire BavSound. Okay, so back over here, the stock tweeter we're going to pull off. Just grab this right here. Kind of pull down on it a little bit, just like that. So it's got this little lip right here that slips behind this metal, so you got to kind of navigate it out. I'm not going to pull this whole thing off, but if you look back here, maybe go this way. If you look on the back side, if you pull this foam piece out of it, you'll see the tweeter right here. So get yourself a little trim tool or a little screwdriver if we got one. Let's see if I can use this guy. Just want to put it right in that little groove just to get it out. Like you'll just use your fingernails. Let's see here. There we go. Comes out just like that. And then we're going to take the new one. And the great thing is this pops right into place. Don't need any glue or anything like that. It just sits in just like so. Not gonna go anywhere. Then we're gonna take this foam piece, put it right back on. You'll see that there's a little notch right here. This is where the wire will go. Just like that. Make sure the wire comes out of the bottom through that little notch. Yep, it does. And then we can put this back on. And so same thing, if you come around this way, we're gonna tuck this lip right here back behind this metal. Squeeze this in, make sure this is all in place. And then we're gonna tuck that back in, just like that. So it's gonna sit just like this. And then we're going to connect this to the new BavSound speaker we just installed on the actual door panel. So now we're ready to put this door panel back into the car. Okay, so we're ready to reinstall. So go ahead and take your plug here that we took off. It only goes in the one direction, so put it in. It'll fold this back up. That locks it into place, nice and snug. And then we can take the tweeter plug it into this black to black, just like so. Blue to the factory harness blue. This only goes in one way as well until it snaps in. That's good to go. That's all connected. This can get plugged right back into this hole. So we are limited on some space here. Well, first I'm gonna bring this little light, put it back through the hole, just like that. Plug that back in. So we've got all of these connections done except for this here, the door latch. So you want to make sure the door handle is pushed inward. And then you take this, push it right back in. And now we can officially put this back onto the door. So you want to line up all of these little white clips that are on the door panel, and also here on the top. And also don't forget your locking pin. Feed that through. I like to start at the top. So you get a couple in, line it up. Make sure it's lined up first. And then the top's in, so now you're going to go around the perimeter. And I like to stick my head through here to kind of see where those clips are, and make sure you're lining them up with the hole on each one of these. Over here. Okay, so once you line everything up and you get all of your clips in, just double check, go around the entire perimeter of the door panel, make sure everything's all in place, and then you can go ahead and reinstall your 3 Torx screws that we removed here, as well as this aluminum trim piece. Clips right back on, and we're good to go. All right, so we're all wrapped up with the install, and we're gonna play some non-copyright music just so we don't get dinged and demonetized here. So
I guess this one?
See how it sounds. All the speakers working? Up the install for the BavSound on the E90 328. This applies to all E90 3 Series models, but super simple install for the most part. Sounds great, and it does take about 24, I believe, or 48 hours, I believe, for the subwoofers to actually fully get to their full capabilities. So just keep that in mind. But it already sounds way better. Kevin is super stoked, and now that he's got both of his cars with BavSound, I think he's really going to enjoy his experience that much better. So if you guys have comments, questions, or concerns, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.